Well, hi. I'm going to talk about a monitor today, and I know monitor videos aren't terribly interesting, but I found it interesting that I have not found a single video on this particular monitor anywhere on the internet, and it's from a pretty decent company who sells lots of monitors, and I don't know why nobody has either bought this or done a video on it, so I decided I would buy it, and I'll do it. It is for the Feelworld SH7, and Feelworld sells like a whole bunch of different 7-inch monitors. This one was pretty unique though. It had a couple of things that I was specifically looking for in a monitor, and I have lots of monitors. Later I'm going to compare it to an old 7-inch monitor, a new 7-inch monitor from Feelworld, and then my BM5iiWR from PortKeys, and then I also have an OSEE G7 that I'm going to kind of put it up next to as well to see, you know, what the differences are, what the image differences are, but we're going to mostly talk about this and why this is, what this is, why do I have it, you know, and go over the menu system, which is oddly unique from all the other Feelworld monitors that I have. Whatever. All right, so let's get started. Feelworld monitor SH7. It is a 7-inch monitor. It's 1920 by 1200, so it's full HD. It does have a glass front. It's a completely plastic build. But it feels somewhat sturdy, probably because of the size. It's quite thin, and it has a 1/4" 20 on the bottom with locating pins. Unfortunately, these are not standard locating pins. They're kind of dumb anyway. So if you have locating pins on, say, a monitor mount, you're going to have to either remove them, or they have to be the kind that kind of recess automatically. On the top, there are 3 function buttons and then this wheel menu button. This is a ambient light sensor, so you can set this up to brighten and dim depending on the brightness of the room. On this side, there is another 1/4 20 with its dumb locating pins that aren't standard on this side, and then the power button. On the other side, it has both HDMI in and out loop out and SDI in and out loop out. And then the coolest thing is on the back, it does have your standard Sony NP, what is it called? The Sony NPL battery style on the back, but it also has this, which is a pass-through for a wireless transmitter. So you can just pop a wireless transmitter right on the back there, and it gets power from either the battery or the power on the bottom. On the bottom, there is a headphone jack, an SD card slot, and that is for loading LUTs and firmware updates. Of course, the 1/4 20, and then you have a DC in and a DC out barrel plug, which is kind of convenient if you want to power something through this. I have not tested it. I don't know if you put a battery in here, if you do get DC out. I'm not really sure why anybody would do that, but I suppose you could. Yeah. So what comes with the monitor in the box? We have an HDMI cable that is full size to full size, but it also has, oh, is it? I'm wrong. This is a full size to mini. I don't know why they decided to include that, but it also has a mini to micro HDMI adapter on it. So keep that in mind. If your camera has a full-size HDMI, the cable they send it with is useless. It also comes with a cold shoe side mount thing. You would put this on your camera, and then you can just attach it to the side here and connect it that way. It's got a quick start guide that is generally useless, and then this little bracket thing, I don't know what this is or why this is. I don't have any idea. I couldn't really figure out where it goes or what you would do with it. Anyway, that was in the box. Maybe it was a mistake. I don't know. So that's the box, that's the accessories. Now let's talk about the monitor itself. It's a nice screen, it's nice and clear, it's bright enough. Right now I have it on 50% brightness and 25% backlight. One of the cool things about this, like I said, was the ability to put your transmitter on the back of this thing. And let me just put it on there. I'm going to power it up, and then I'm going to take a very short HDMI cable, plug that in here, and behind me I have a monitor set up with the receiver of that, and I'm using the Cineview SE from Axoon. It is my favorite low end. Hey, there it is, just like that. So, yep, that's working. I do want to show you something that if you don't happen to have, I don't know, maybe you don't have a tiny little HDMI cable, but you do have a tiny SDI cable, you can take SDI out of this thing and go SDI into your transmitter. And ta-da! So this thing cross converts. If you had watched my video on the PortKeys BM5iiWR, you would know that that was one of my big complaints about this monitor. I don't have many complaints about this monitor. This is a great monitor. I love it. But what it doesn't do that a few other monitors do is it does not cross convert HDMI to SDI or SDI to HDMI. This one does, which is pretty cool for a monitor that costs $279 on Amazon. Straight from Feelworld, it'll cost you $319 for whatever reason, but I got it off of Amazon for $279, and it's a fantastic deal. All right, so I'm gonna remove this now because we are now going to talk about. I'd like to talk about the menus and how the operation of this thing works. Then in a few minutes, I will kind of compare it to the other monitors I have for brightness and for just general usability. So first things first, it is a touch screen, which a couple of my other monitors are not. Most monitors are touchscreen these days, but you can turn it off by quickly pressing the power button. That will show you a little block there that turns it off, and hitting again will hit the button right there to turn it back on. There's a couple things you can do on this monitor really quickly, and that is on the left-hand side, if you swipe up and down, that is the backlight brightness. And I will keep that at 25 for now. Okay, on the right-hand side, if you do it, that is the volume of the monitor. Double tapping on the screen brings up the left-hand side there all of the functions that this does. The top one is your assist tools, and you have a bunch of them. Analysis is basically a whole bunch of scopes and graphs, and I will show them maybe later, maybe not. You have waveform, so you have your main histogram waveform over here, or excuse me. So you have your main, I guess that's a Luma waveform over here. You also have, I don't even know what YUV waveform is, but then there's also the parade, the RGB parade waveform. I find that the normal one tends to be the most useful. You have a vector scope, comes up here, that's for skin tones and color accuracy. Then over here, then you have your histograms. So histogram, you can choose between this Y histogram right here and an RGB histogram. It's a little clunky that you have to turn it on and then you have to turn the individual ons. You can leave them on so that when you toggle them, they can both come on and off. But let's say you just want to see the RGB parade or RGB histogram, so that stays on right there. Okay. Next we have focus assist. So that is just like anything else. You can change the sensitivity of it. You can change the color of what the in focus lines are. And then audio meters, and that's going to be put over here. Let me show you. So right here, you can see the audio meters. Yeah, you're barely being able to be seen, but you can see them. All right, and then we'll come back. Come on. It's interesting that it does kind of pick up where you left off. So if you double tap, you don't have to go back into menus or anything like that. It just puts it back where it was. I'm going to turn these back off for now. You have your zebra function, so you can set the IRE to anywhere from, I don't know, can you, how far down can you go? Oh my God, you can go all the way down to 0. Don't know why you would do that, but yeah, you can go down to 0 IRE to show zebras, and the whole thing is a zebra for some reason. So good on you there. Let's come up just a little bit. Check field is you can make it monotone or any of the R, G, and B color spaces. If I ever use it, it's going to be a black and white, so that's what I would leave right there. And then behind that, or at the very last of the assist tools, is the false color. And you get a choice between the RE space color and then spectrum color, which I don't know. It doesn't give you, I mean, it does give you a chart down here so you can see by color. I wish this was more standardized. I wish that, you know, everybody would do it exactly the same. They do not. Let me come back up in here to false color. And then the RE is, whoops, come on, get out of there. The RE will show you that it kind of does it in plus or minus stops from neutral gray. Take that for what you will. All right, so let's turn false color back off. Actually, I want to put it back on spectrum because that's what I prefer. Okay, and then running up here, I'm going to close the assist tools because there's no more of those. And then you have a whole bunch of overlays and markers and stuff like that. So you have your crosshairs, you can turn on your rule of thirds, you can do fourths, sixths, you can do, oh my God, I don't know why you would do that. You can even change the color of those grid lines. Then you can do a safe area if you wanted to do, let's say, 16 by 10. If you wanted to do, whoops, let me turn that on, a 1 by 1. You can see there's a little red grid around there. You can make it white, you can make it blue, you can make it whatever you want. I'm going to turn that off. I guess it's useful if you want to do a 2:35:1 aspect ratio by cropping or something like that to see what's going on there. You can also do a crosshair. I like using a crosshair. You can see it right there. It's red. Where are we here? Whoops. Turn the crosshair back off. And of course you have all those colors. And then you have camera guides. So right now I have it set to, what is that, 11 by 9? Who would do that? Anyway, 2:35:1, 2:41:1. 5:4, you can, you know, do anything. That's more for like, this would be for Instagram or for Reels or for, you know, whatever. It's definitely better than putting just the overlay on there because now you can't see anything outside of whatever you set it at. All right, and then, so we'll close the markers, and then you have image controls. So scan mode, this is underscan, overscan. I don't even know what that means, to be completely honest, so whatever. Aspect ratio, again, you can change the squish factor of things. Not really sure why you'd want to do that so much, because it also has anamorphic desqueeze. So let's say I had a 1.5 anamorphic lens on the camera, this would do an automatic desqueeze. But that's pretty common for most monitors these days. You can mirror your image on your screen. Not sure why you would do that, but you can. There's a zoom tool, so if you put that at 3 and then turn that on and off, it will give you a close-up of what you're looking at. Now, unfortunately, you can't place the box. It's just a center punch. So yeah, it would be useful if you could move that zoom box around, but you cannot do that. And then for whatever reason, there is a freeze function. So now that I've pressed freeze, it just is frozen there. What it does not do is it does not save that freeze onto the card or anything like that. And you can't go back and reference it to try and shot match something. There is another function on here called pixel to pixel, and on and off doesn't do anything. And the reason why it doesn't do anything is pixel to pixel, basically if you have a 4K signal out of your camera and it goes into this, and this is only a 1080 screen, so pixel to pixel will punch in 2 times, and you can use that as another situation where you can check focus or whatever. Now, unfortunately, this is just an HD monitor, so it's not capable of receiving a 4K image, so this pixel to pixel is pretty much worthless on this particular monitor. It might be for other monitors that they sell that are 4K. In fact, I happen to have one that does accept a 4K signal, and I've tested it, and yes, indeed, it does accept the 4K, and the pixel to pixel does punch in 2 to 1, so you kind of see a quick punch in. All right, and we're going to go back to here, and let's come up. Okay, and we'll close the image, and we'll go to user options. This gives you the option to do an HDR image, and when you do the HDR image, generally you would be using the raw output of a camera, or if you're shooting an HLG, you can actually display it in HDR, and then you get to choose the camera that you're using there. That's a little bit different than the LUT because it also has LUTs. If your camera is putting out a log image, you can come in here and turn on the LUT, and then that looks like awful because the LUT's already coming out of my camera right now. But it does have a few LUTs that are pre-installed in here, but you can always put more on an SD card and load them from there. All right, and then we have display setup. That's where you choose the brightness and the tint and all that nonsense to make this image match something if you're looking for it to match something by your eye. And then of course we have color here, and you do get to choose 3 different color spaces, the Rec 709, DCP3, or BT 2020. So there you can see differences in there, but I'm not really that good a colorist to know when to use what. And then of course you can change the color temperature, so 5600, 6500, and 9300, and of course you can always choose your own by dialing in whatever you want to dial in there. All right, and then finally we have the system menu. And the system menu assigns what functions you want, like the wheel or the function buttons, to do. So with the wheel, you get 2 choices of either the backlight or the volume. And then this is the 3 function buttons at the top. And you can see my first function button is the analysis. Second function button, you have to kind of roll down there, that's the zebras. And third is the false color. Then you can choose your input on there, HDMI or SDI. Choose your language, choose where and how your on-screen display shows up. And then you can do the volume, keep it on mute, whatever you want, and there's fan controls on there too. Now, interestingly, when I did my review of this BM5iiWR from PortKeys, I recommended very strongly that you keep the fan on low, because on high it was extremely loud and somewhat high-pitched, and it would have been pretty annoying. This monitor is quite quiet. I could hold, it's on high right now, and I can hold it right to my microphone. And I don't know if the fan from my light over there is actually louder than the fan on this monitor. So I would recommend to keep this on high all the time just to keep this monitor cool, because monitors tend to get pretty hot. At least these do anyway. And this one has as well, at least when I feel the SDI ports over here, they tend to get very, very warm if the monitor has been on for an hour or so. Yes, and then power display, you can choose to have right up there the little battery display of how your battery's doing. And then firmware update. I'm not going to do a firmware update though. Okay, so that is the basic usability, and I can show you really quickly. This is F1. This is my scopes and my graphs. Let's turn that off. F2 is my zebras. I'll turn that off, and F3 is the false color, and you get to choose which false color you want, I think, right? Nope, it cycles through. So if you hit it once, that's going to be your spectrum false color. You hit it twice, that's going to be your RE color, from middle gray type thing, and hit it again and you're out. All right, so one more thing I wanted to show on this was the quick menu. And if you were to swipe up from the bottom, it shows you everything that you had on the left-hand side. When you double click, all this stuff that's buried in menus, and that's how you start, all of that stuff, almost all of it anyway, is accessible on this quick menu on the bottom. So if you quickly wanted to turn on your LUT, or if you quickly wanted to turn on your scopes, or if you quickly wanted to do false color, or excuse that's focus assist. Is that false color? Yeah, that's false color. And then you can slide over here and you can turn on, you can turn on your grid, you can turn on anything. The only interesting thing that you can't do, you can't assign this zoom function to any of the function keys, which is strange. But what is interesting is that on a lot of monitors lately, you can do a pinch to zoom and you can move it around there. And it's actually even more responsive than the much more expensive BM5iiWR. That's another small complaint I had with the BM5iiWR. But again, you can just zoom in. I think you can go up to 4x. I don't know, oh no, that's a lot. That's really zoomed in. So you can zoom in quite a bit and move around wherever you need to get critical focus. But again, the point I was trying to make was there's all of these things down here that you can go through. So it's a little difficult to see what's happening here because I've had to kind of have to hold them just like this. It's not ideal, but this is what I got right now. And let's see. Okay, so are they the same brightness? Maybe, maybe not. I have found, however, that with these Feelworld monitors, I think the 2200 nits is kind of just like marketing nonsense, because what happens is if you turn the backlight all the way up, and let me see if I can do that here. I'm going to turn the backlight all the way up here, backlight all the way up here. Is that all the way up? Yeah. Okay. And then to turn the backlight all the way up on this, I have to go in deep into the menus and mess with it, and I don't want to do that. So we're just going to compare these two. And you can see, I think that this is the LUT7S. You can look it up if you want. And then this is the FW279. This is very old. You can see it's on its last legs there. It's starting to lose pixels. But these two are supposedly rated for 2200 nits, and their backlights are all the way up. Brightness is at 50. And you can see that the center one here, this one tends to be a little bit brighter, and whatever, cool. I could turn the brightness all the way up to 100 on these two monitors, but then they become very washed out and you can almost not even tell what you're looking at. The contrast goes away, the colors go away, and it's always just brightness. Hopefully this looks like something. So right now we have the Feelworld SH7 here. We have the OSEE G7 here, and the PortKeys BM5iiWR here. Now, all of them are set to 50% brightness, and their backlights are at the center or whatever. So 50, this is 5, and I believe this is 5. So they go from 0 to 10, these go to 0 to 100. So they're all supposed to be at their middle brightness, middle backlight. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the G7 should be brighter because this is rated to be a 3000 nits monitor, whereas the Feelworld and the BM5iiWR from PortKeys, those are both 2200 nits. Now, I am going to turn up the backlight. Nope, that's not what that does. I'm going to turn up the back, whoops, that's not what that does there. Now I'm going to turn up the backlight all the way on this. Oh, I think this backlight was already all the way up. Yeah, that backlight was already all the way up. Whoops. And then, so you can see that, and then let me see if I can turn the backlight up on this one. There. All right, now all the backlights are the brightest they can go, and from my eye, just looking in my monitor right here, which is nearly across the room, I think that these two are far brighter than this one. If I'm wrong, it's up on the screen right now how wrong I am, but it just appears that these two are much brighter, and that goes with what I was saying about the marketing nonsense that Feelworld says. Sure, it's probably 2200 nits if you jack up the brightness all the way, but that's not how you would use this monitor because, again, you wouldn't be able to see anything. These two are considerably brighter at the same middle ground or the same middle brightness and backlight all the way up. So what does that say? I don't know. It doesn't really mean anything because this one was 279, this one was 500, and this one was 569 or something like that, 589. And again, this one does stuff that the other two don't. This one has the cross conversion, and it's also got the little battery thing for my transmitter. So why has this monitor not been reviewed anywhere before? I don't know. You can do a search, but I cannot find the Feelworld SH7 anywhere. It's available. I mean, it's not available from Feelworld's site. They say that they're sold out or out of stock or whatever. It is available on Amazon though. So there is one negative thing about this monitor that I didn't like, and that is this, the Q20 input on the bottom. First of all, it has the non-standard locating pins. That's one thing. The other thing is that, and I don't know, maybe I'll be able to show it here. It's going to be real difficult to see it, but if you can see, there's a little bit of plastic that is molded on top of the metal Q20 that's buried deep inside of there. And for whatever reason, the molding was too small or too tight. So the first 2 or 3 times that I screwed this onto a more standard monitor mount, I had to give it the beans. I really had to screw it in very, very hard. And I think what I was having to do was actually physically make threads in the plastic shell casing of this. Obviously, once you get to the metal in there, it's fine and everything's great. I don't have a monitor mount anywhere near me, but now it's fine because I think I've done it enough times that the threads are good there. The other complaint is, and hopefully I can show you this as well, is that when you are using a monitor mount, you have to make sure that that monitor mount is not too large, because if it's too wide, then this DC input becomes useless. You're not able to get a barrel plug in there. And interestingly enough, that is the same complaint from the Feelworld LUT7, because you have the same situation here where, come on focus, where the in and the out are very, very close to this very non-standard locking pin thing. And I don't know if it's possible to see this, but you can see that there's like almost no distance between the plastic and the metal threading of the Q20 in there. This gives me all the flexibility that I could possibly want to put it on any monitor in any situation for any job. And I am confident that I'll be able to use whatever cables I need for whatever I want to do, and it's going to work out just fine. So again, It was weird that reviews of the SH7 simply do not exist. It's almost like this monitor does not exist. But I wanted to go through it and show you everything that it does. So this has been my review of the Feelworld SH7 monitor, and I'm really happy with it. Hopefully it lasts a long time. I won't know until I use it. Thanks for watching.